Hey, everybody. Recently, I took a class where we talked about watching a movie and writing down how a character reacts to a situation. I thought this was a really great exercise to show, not tell, because you're looking at how is the actor showing or actress showing what's going on. So I wanted to take and extend this a little bit further, leveraging a tool that I use at work called an empathy map. So empathy maps, normally we use them for understanding customer thinking and what they're seeing and experiencing. And here I'm going to use it to describe what the main character is going through so that we can leverage this in our writing. So here we go. I'm going to start my empathy map. I'm going to draw my person here and they'll be smiling even though we're talking about horror. That's their ear. Again, this isn't supposed to be a work of masterpiece art. This is supposed to just be a brainstorming tool. So empathy maps are really great for capturing a person's perspective. And you should always do research with these. Don't just guess. Feel free to ask. In this case, we're doing observation. So we're watching what's happening with the character via the actor, and then we can list it out here. Okay. All right, and we're going to be working with the main character, Trent, using the video scene I posted with this blog post. So I'm going to scribble out a couple things that Trent is thinking, seeing, saying, doing, feeling, and hearing. And you'll be able to kind of see, how I've taken my notes here. And we'll talk more about it in just a moment. The saying predictability is the enemy of horror. This is a great example of that. So we look at switching my rainbow pen here. Some of the things that Trent is feeling or is thinking. He's thinking he's awake. He's thinking he's back in reality. He's thinking that he has a weird dream, and he's going back. This is the big one here. He's going back to his real world. Like, just let me get a cigarette. What's he seeing? He's just seeing the table and, the book that he has, his apartment. These are all just normal things for him. He says when he wakes up, that was weird, because he's making that mental transition from the dream to his real world. Again, tying what he's thinking and what he's doing. He's reaching for the table. He's putting the book down. I'm going to jump over here to hearing. He doesn't hear anything. It's silent. And in the movie, they do a great job of manipulating sound to bring the horror. So it's quiet. There's not even music playing. You hear his breathing, and that's it. Now, anyone who's ever woken up from a nightmare knows you have this uneasy, disturbed, kind of dreamy, sleepy feeling that you have here. So he's not, he knows he's just woken up, and he feels like he's just woken up. He's going back to his real world. Right? That's what makes this scary, is that he is going back to his real world, and then he finds out he's not in his real world. There's this shock of the police officer from the dream is there, and the horror sets in at that point. So very good scene here. This is using an empathy map to take that scene and break it down and kind of examine what is it that made it a horror? What was the experience that made it horror? And as I took this, it was coming from the nightmare back into what he thought was the real world. And then you find out it's not the real world. That's what triggered the horror here. So in my next project, maybe something like this will show up. Not the dream state, but that a character is in the mundane and going through the mundane. And then all of a sudden, the mundane is disturbed by something that they didn't expect to happen. Again, predictability is the enemy of horror. So I hope this was useful for you. If you liked it, comment, tell me what you'd like to see next, and we'll go from there. So thank you.